Imagine you're the CEO of a massive company. You've got to decide whether to spend billions on a new factory. Now, this decision is huge. It's pretty much permanent. And the future? Well, the future is a total mystery. So how on earth do you get it right? That's the billion-dollar question we're going to tackle.
And that brings us right to the heart of the problem. When is the perfect time to pull the trigger on a massive, irreversible investment? See, it's not just about if you should do it. It's about the precise moment when. If you get that timing wrong, the consequences could be absolutely catastrophic.
And really, the stakes could not be higher. We are talking about a single decision that can literally make or break an entire company. This is the exact kind of problem that keeps executives up at night, and it's what a really fascinating research paper on investment theory decided to dive into.
So, to find the answer, the researchers first had to figure out why this is all so incredibly difficult to begin with, and what they found were three fundamental roadblocks that get in the way of investing.
Okay, roadblock number one, the future is uncertain. Obvious, right? But for a mathematician, it's a bit more specific. Key things like customer demand or prices, they don't move in a straight line. They bounce around randomly. This is what's known as a stochastic process. It's basically a path with unpredictability baked right in.
Second, these gigantic decisions are irreversible. I mean, once you build that billion-dollar factory, you can't just unbuild it and get your cash back. That capital is sunk, gone. It is a one-way street with absolutely no takebacks.
And finally, taking action is expensive all by itself. There's this huge fixed cost. You can think of it like a cover charge at a club. Just to get in the door, just to start the project, you have to pay this massive fee, and that's before you've even figured out how big your investment is going to be.
So you've got uncertainty, irreversibility, and these huge fixed costs. It's a total nightmare scenario for any decision maker. And this is where the researchers brought out the heavy-duty tools to try and tame all that uncertainty with a little bit of math.
They used a framework called stochastic impulse control. Now, I know that sounds super complicated, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. It's basically a mathematical toolkit designed to figure out the two most important things in an unpredictable world: the absolute best moments to act and the perfect size of that action. It's all about timing and magnitude.
And what is so amazing, so elegant, is that out of all this incredibly complex math, a shockingly simple solution emerges. They call it the small e, small s rule.
The solution is just a simple three-step loop. Okay, step one, you wait. You just sit back and you let an economic indicator, say your factory's capacity, fall all the way down to a pre-calculated trigger level. We'll call it little s. The second it hits that trigger, you act. You invest immediately to push that indicator right back up to a target level, big S. And then you just repeat the whole process. It's this constant cycle of wait, act, and repeat.
So here's the magic of it. That entire mind-bendingly complex problem of when to invest and how much to invest, well, it all boils down to finding just two numbers, a trigger and a target. And that's it. That's the power of this rule.
But, here's where it gets even smarter. This rule isn't static. It actually adapts to changing market conditions. Let's look at a couple of the paper's own examples to see exactly how this works in the real world.
Okay, this table shows what happens when market volatility, another word for uncertainty, goes up. So when volatility is low, down at 10%, the trigger's S is 13.2. But now watch what happens when volatility skyrockets to 30%. That trigger drops all the way to 7.3. What does that mean? It means you wait much, much longer before you act. And notice the size of the investment also gets smaller. This just brilliantly shows how the math adapts to risk.
And the takeaway here is perfectly intuitive, right? More uncertainty means you should be more cautious. You wait longer to be sure, and then you make smaller, less risky bets when you finally do decide to act.
Now let's look at that other roadblock, the fixed cost of acting. This chart shows what happens when that cover charge to invest gets higher. With a low fixed cost, over on the left, the investment size is about 27. But look at the far right. When that fixed cost is high, the investment size jumps to over 68. So the strategy is crystal clear. The more expensive it is to even play the game, the bigger your move has to be.
So the bottom line here is that higher fixed costs mean you make fewer but much bigger bets. It makes sense, right? If it's super expensive just to get started, you're not going to do it very often. But when you do, you make it count.
Okay, so we've seen how this works for giant corporations making billion-dollar decisions. But let's zoom out for a second.
What if this is more than just a business strategy? What if it's actually a new rule for making decisions in general? Because this powerful logic, this idea of waiting for a trigger, then acting to hit a specific target, that's not just for billion-dollar companies. It's a mental model that you can use for any significant, irreversible decision you face under uncertainty. Think about changing careers, or buying a house, or even just starting a major personal project.
What this does is it forces you to stop just guessing and to start actually defining your parameters. So let me leave you with this. What's the trigger point for your next big decision? What condition absolutely needs to be met before you act, and what's the target you're aiming for? Thinking this way, well, it can bring a ton of clarity to even the most complex choices we face.